This is MuggleCast, the Harry Potter podcast discussing everything about J.K. Rowling's Wizarding World. This week's episode is brought to you by Casper Mattresses, used by me and Micah. Visit casper.com/MuggleCast and enter code MuggleCast to save $50 on your order. Welcome to MuggleCast episode 336. I'm Andrew.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Micah.
Coming off of our live episode last week, which was a lot of fun down in Orlando. Florida now facing a hurricane. Our thoughts are with everybody down there.
Yeah.
As you ride it out, we're recording Sunday afternoon as it cometh.
Yeah. No, we have a lot of listeners down there that we met actually last week, and also in Houston. I know we probably didn't mention that on previous episodes, but obviously, as you said, Andrew, our thoughts are with them, and stay safe.
Yeah, busy hurricane season. Anyway, on today's episode, we are going to be talking about magical transportation in the Wizarding World. We've been doing these broader subjects, and this is going to be our next one, grading the various options, looking at the pros and cons of each. We have a couple good voicemails to play. We've got some reaction to a couple of our most recent episodes. But first, some news.
Yeah.
September 1st came and went. We did our live episode down at MuggleNet Live on September 1st. I was hyping up Cursed Child doing something, and nothing happened.
And as I said during our live show, they disappoint yet again. Not only was the original writing and story and plot a massive disappointment, now they go out and they put up a stage outside of the theater in London, and from what I can tell, they did absolutely nothing.
So we're sure about this. There was nothing on that stage all day?
Well, apparently it wasn't a stage. It was like construction for stuff underneath the ground.
God.
But it looks like a stage, so I'm very confused.
So you lied,
There were
Andrew.
trusses. I saw trusses. Maybe, you know what it is? Maybe they messed up the timeline. Maybe there was something there, and all the time turners that are loose, something went back and prevented it from going on.
That honestly makes the most sense. So let's go with that one.
I just saw them cut a big Hogwarts Express cake.
Yes, they did celebrate. They had a Hogwarts Express cake, and
That seems yummy.
they all wore 19 Years Later shirts. And like I said in the live episode, they were selling 19 Years Later shirts, which is cool. And I think it was just that day, one day only.
Huh.
But actually, in other Cursed Child news, if you walk into Times Square now, you will see a giant Cursed Child banner up promoting the spring 2018 opening on Broadway. I cracked up at it because it's like 3 posters, and one of them says very large, "Keep the secrets." And I'm like, doesn't everybody know what happens at this point?
Yeah, I don't understand why that's still a thing.
And somebody was arguing, well, it's more about the stage surprises. As opposed to, it's not about the plot. It's about what you actually see on stage that they want to keep secret. Yeah. And like, all right, but I think you would still be surprised with your own eyes because you're like, whoa, how's this happening?
Yeah, I don't know. That's the wrong marketing, considering the book was like the script is out and real Harry Potter fans. It's just you can use a hashtag, but not make it keep the secrets. That points to something else. That's not really what they want to be saying here.
Another disappointment.
Hashtag, we're not releasing it in movie theaters anytime soon. Please come see the play.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect hashtag.
In a couple of weeks, by the way, in about 3 or 4 weeks, tickets will be going on sale through Ticketmaster's Verified Fan program. And I actually recently had experience dealing with Ticketmaster Verified Fan. So in the weeks ahead, to get everybody ready, I will give you a primer on what to expect for that.
Thank you.
If you are trying to...
I thought you were going to order tickets for everybody listening right now.
And the first 10 listeners to call in are going to get free tickets to Cursed Child.
You're a verified fan. That's a pretty big deal.
Keep the secrets is the phrase that pays. I'm a verified fan for Bruce Springsteen only.
You missed your calling as a radio DJ.
I need to get re-verified for Cursed Child, but I'll explain all that for everybody in the weeks ahead. Tickets go on sale October 12th, but registration to have the chance to get tickets takes place October 1st through the 5th.
Okay.
Anyway, I saw Warwick Davis was at King's Cross for September 1st.
Oh, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
What was he doing there? Did he just show up, or was it like an official thing? He plays Flitwick and Grip Hook in the movies.
Mm-hmm. I think it was official. He was there and greeted fans. He took the train. So it just
to Hogsmeade? What? Took the train
to
where?
Hogwarts,
Where'd he go?
Of course. Come on.
To Hogwarts?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
so this is an article from Metro. It says he joins Harry Potter fans as they celebrate 19 years later.
A lot of people showed up at King's Cross for that. That was really cool.
He arrived on a Segway. He visited. There was just a horde, a mass of fans. Oh, at 11 o'clock. So he joined them on the 1100 train from King's Cross Station.
Nice.
There you go. On a Segway. I want to see that. I got to check out that picture.
Yeah. On a Segway?
Yeah, showed up on a. It's the best way to cut through crowds like that. You should see the photo of like all the people on the balcony above, or not the balcony, but like the gangway and the Anyway, I would have also gotten a Segway. I've never ridden a Segway. They do tours in Chicago, Andrew. We should go.
They look dangerous. That guy who invented the Segway died.
I think that's an urban legend. I don't think that's real.
It's true. It's
really?
true. Yeah, it happened like last year. Anyway, Micah, we decided to ask people what they did for September 1st, right?
Yeah, we did. We put out the question on Twitter to ask listeners what they were doing on September 1st, and a couple people tweeted back at us. Nicole Outlaw said that she took a train from King's Cross to Edinburgh at exactly 11 a.m., spent the weekend there enjoying all of the Harry Potter sites, so that's a pretty cool way to spend not just that Friday, but the entire weekend. Brandon said, I spent it at the new original Funko headquarters, got 3 new Pops, Newt, Dumbledore, and Snape.
That's pretty cool. I would love to go there sometime.
Funko headquarters. Wonder where that is.
Yeah, I'm Googling it now. But go ahead.
Damon tweeted in to say, by working and seeing loads of awesome things people did on Twitter, credit to everyone. So we got a few like that. I didn't include the ones that were a little bit more. Some people said they spend it alone by themselves and things like that.
Was anyone just like, I just tweeted the hashtag, got the special Twitter emoji?
I'm sure some people did do just that, but nobody that tweeted at us. Soprano Swag 33 attended a meetup with the group, quote, I left my wand in San Francisco. She lives in San Francisco. Great people, great vibes, and great times. Mio did a cosplay meetup where they went to the local fandom store, bought frozen yogurt, and just had a great time. Abby says, me and my brother danced around the house singing Star Kids Going Back to Hogwarts. I also read Cursed Child from cover to cover. Emily, who had a picture with Chris Rankin from down in Orlando in her tweet, said, celebrated the same way you did at the amazing MuggleNet 19 years later event. Experience was once in a lifetime.
I have a word from somebody who also had a good weekend. Actually, this was, I didn't tell you guys when this happened, but we had an invitation to a wedding last weekend.
Oh, is this the wedding that you, I'm sorry, the engagement that you witnessed in Orlando?
It's not, although that was totally a thing. But no, we actually got a wedding invitation to the P.O. Box. I knew that we could not attend, but it's a beautiful invitation. It's the platform 9 3/4 ticket, welcoming us or inviting us to the wedding of Jake and Brittany. It's listed as an unbreakable vow, and the hashtag is Accio Parks. But I looked it up on Instagram just now. The wedding went through. They are husband and wife, and it was a fantastic. Yeah, it's.
Where was it?
It was September 3rd. It was September 3rd. So in Jurupa Hills Country Club in Riverside, California, promptly at 4 p.m. I was still in Florida at the time.
We could have gone.
You guys could have gone because you left Saturday.
We could have
but
flown straight from Orlando to. Is it close to Los Angeles or San Francisco?
We do weddings now. I don't know where Riverside is.
It's east of LA.
I just wanted to wish the best of
Eric, when did you get this invitation?
Like, I just,
Before we left?
Months ago.
within the standard time frame of when you're supposed to get.
And you're just telling us now?
Months ago, and he's telling us now.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Well, I just didn't want you to choose this wedding over 19 years later, but.
I bet he was legitimately concerned.
But listen, all I want to say is congratulations to Jake and Brittany on their wedding. That's what they did last weekend. We should all try and top that.
All right, well, I'm officially no longer going to any Harry Potter conventions that Eric really wants us to go to because he's just going to pull a Dobby on us and hide stuff.
He's keeping the secrets is what he's doing.
I'm just hashtagging keeping the secrets.
All
guys.
right. Well, we'll see if Irvin can top that. I'm not sure, but you guys can be the judge. He says that the way he spent 19 years later is a bit longer than 140 characters. My friends and I were the group that got to the trolley at King's Cross at exactly 11 a.m. So we and Warwick Davis were at the center of the hoopla at platform 9 3/4. They gave us our photos for free. We took a train out of King's Cross to a castle, Lincoln Castle. Spent the afternoon freaking out the muggles there in our wizard robes. We told them we got on the wrong train. And then while returning to London, we saw that our pictures were splashed all over NBC News. I emailed a link to my mom, who promptly asked if I was having a good time in London. I didn't deign to respond. I thought the answer was self-evident. Since this was officially the end of our childhood, we decided to thoroughly destroy that childhood by playing Cards Against Muggles into the night.
That's great. And Irvin lives in New York, so that was a big trip to take over to go over there and do that. Good for you. Actually, I know somebody else who went over there for 19 years later now. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. By the way, Funko HQ is in Washington, Everett, Washington. So I'll unfortunately probably never get there. So somebody send me pictures of it.
And Funkos.
I have a off-the-wall news story to talk about this week. So, did either of you ever dabble in the world of Harry Potter fan fiction?
Briefly.
No.
So, back in 2006, I didn't know this, by the way. This was all news to me over the past week. In 2006, this fan fiction was published called My Immortal, inspired by the Evanescence song. The title, and it went viral because it was so bad. The writing is terrible. The plot is insane. It has vampires in it, and it just went viral because of how ridiculous it was. Somehow I missed this, and I think you guys did too. And Elisa, who used to run MuggleNet Fanfiction, I do Millennial podcast with her now. She didn't hear of it either, which really surprised me. But
what?
Anyway,
I did know about this. I did know.
Oh, you
about
did?
This.
Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody told me that when they were introduced to the Harry Potter fandom in 2007, My Immortal was part of their starter pack. They were like, okay, here's the Harry Potter series, and here's the worst fan fiction to ever be written.
Yeah.
So the fan fiction was also interesting because we didn't know the real author behind it, and people were curious to know who it was because we wanted to know, was it a troll fic? Were they doing it just to be ridiculous, or were they just that crazy to write this? Mm-hmm. Never knew the identity until now. The woman who wrote this is publishing a memoir in spring 2018 with a big New York book publisher. Her upcoming memoir is called Under the Same Stars: The Search for My Brother and the True Story of My Immortal. It's by Rose Christo. As it turns out, she wrote this fan fiction while she was going through the New York City foster system. And so, like I said, this is going to be published in spring 2018. And it was a big deal that her identity was revealed because this is classic Harry Potter fan fiction. And by the way, this fan fiction is not appropriate for children. There are a lot of problems with it, not safe for work at all. But so I read it I read 13 chapters of it yesterday.
13 of the 44 chapters.
Yes.
The book
yes.
has. The first 13?
Yeah, basically what happened was I was caught up in all the excitement. I wrote about it on Hypable. I was like, I wonder if I should read it. So I decided to be goofy on Twitter, and I said, if this tweet gets 100 likes, I will read My Immortal. And at recording time right now, it has 359 likes, which I believe means I have to read it 3 times.
No, it just means, well, you do have to. Are you going to finish it?
So
you have to.
So I started, and man, I was laughing out loud reading it. It is a trip. It is ridiculous. I started filming myself reading it, and I would have put it on the MuggleCast Patreon, but it's so inappropriate. I don't want our younger listeners to watch that. I put it on the Millennial and Hypable Patreons instead. And Eric, did you ever read it?
I did. Well, so I read bits and pieces. This is one of 2 Harry Potter fanfics I've ever really come into contact with. The other one is Harry Potter and the Psychic Serpent, I think it's called. But My Immortal, I was recently at a Harry Potter event at Loyola University here in Chicago, and there was a room dedicated to, like, all night long, people live reading, like, out loud, exactly what you did, Andrew, My Immortal. Like, it was basically like there's all this other activity going on. There's like butterbeer pong and all sorts of other sorry, I said that wrong. Butterbeer pong and tons of other special events, but there was a room dedicated to just reading My Immortal live, because it's almost like it transcends the written word. Like, you need to experience it being narrated to you, because of just the way that the grammar is mangled, and the way that the sentences are constructed, and just the matter of fact, like the run-on sentences. You just need to plow through to really appreciate the art that is underneath. And so yeah, it's a crazy story. I didn't realize it was 22,000 words as the article says, but actually I really enjoyed. There was a post on BuzzFeed by Alana Bennett, who we know, friend of the show, who wrote like this deep dive into how exactly the identity was revealed, because it's a tricky, sticky business, and it's like all of this stuff. It's like Robert Galbraith being revealed. Lawyers are involved, and it has to do with like patents and filing, because like I think what it was is she had to prove to the publisher that she was the person who wrote My Immortal in order to like save face or make sure that she could publish this book. And in so doing, 1 or 2 documents became public, or like a screenshot of something became public, which showed her logged into an old email address, which was associated with the old, fanfiction.net account or something. But
it's a whole thing. It's a
whole thing. But anyway, I didn't want to take away from the story. But My Immortal is crazy, and
it is
a big portion of the fandom was very excited.
I've never heard of this.
Yeah. You should read it, Micah. I wanted to make you read a sample of it here on the show, but like there's not like one line that isn't wildly inappropriate. So.
Gotcha. Well, as it relates to fan fiction, though, is it normal for it to be, would you say, 44 chapters? I mean, that's pretty substantial writing.
So here's the thing: the paragraphs are the chapters are like 3 paragraphs. They're not.
So how come you only read 13 of them?
In a day.
Because in
a day.
Okay, so what happened was I was filming.
You probably had other things to do. It's fine.
Well, and I got to this point where the plot was getting so confusing, I just gave up. I threw my hands in the air and said, screw this. I can't take it anymore. I just didn't want to waste my brain cells trying to decode 2006 My Immortal's plot, because it's so absurd.
You realize that once you actually finish reading it, you yourself become immortal, Andrew.
Oh, okay. Well,
that's the reward at the end of the rainbow here. If you can make it through, you gain like a second life. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So the story follows Ebony. She's at Hogwarts. She's a vampire.
She's an emo gothic chick.
There's a lot of references to like Hot Topic and My Chemical Romance and other, emo rock bands. And Harry turns out to be a vampire, and Draco and Ebony might love each other, but wait a second, oh my gosh, Harry and Draco also might love each other, and Ebony's upset by this, all this. It's just, and characters are dying left and right. It's so absurd. There's a gun at Hogwarts. Voldemort pops up. It's great. I am going to continue reading it because I got to know what happens. Anyway, so I wanted to bring that up, and I will be reading this memoir because I want to know what the hell was going on with My Immortal.
Well, and that's the crazy part is, this woman wrote this fan fiction. It became hugely, insanely successful, and she did not capitalize on it for like 11 years. Was just like, this was a cool thing that I did as a kid. Like, it just, it took over, and people wanted to know, and there'd been many attempts to try and find out who she was to begin with, and it's all just like this great big surprise reveal. I mean, I lost the bet. It wasn't, in fact, J.K. Rowling who wrote it, but others really, really wanted it. I'm glad that it was this woman, and I'm glad that there's going to be a story about it because, whenever typical of anybody who has success at a young age and like sees it grow and sees it transform and get out of control, I imagine that the insights will be quite insightful.
I wonder if J.K. Rowling's read it. I hope so. All right, Micah, we got some feedback about 2 episodes ago.
Yeah, so going all the way back to episode 334, where we talked about places to live in the wizarding world, and some of these are things that I just went back and did a little bit of research on, and others we did hear from listeners. So the first piece was we talked a little bit about where would professors live when they're not at Hogwarts, right? During the school year, and I tried to scour Pottermore as best I could. The site's still not really working for me very well, and the whole Explore Hogwarts thing that they released back on September 1st, I still can't access it. My browsers aren't working. I tried fixing it based on what they told me, and it's still not working. So if anybody from Pottermore out there is listening, please stop making your products.
Want you on it, Micah.
No, I think they just intentionally make things difficult to display on different devices. That's my theory.
It's working fine for me.
All right, well, do a screen share at some point so I can go to all the
that'd be cool.
100 hotspots and see if there's any new
I'll
information.
Periscope.
Yeah.
But the first piece, just going off of professors not living at Hogwarts during the summer months, McGonagall actually lived in Hogsmeade at one point with her husband, Elphinstone Urquhart, and she moved to Hogwarts, though, following his untimely death. So there's at least an example of a professor. She worked at the Ministry, we know that, prior to her teaching career, so likely lived somewhere in London, and then moved on to Hogsmeade, and then finally made her way to living full-time at Hogwarts.
That's really interesting.
And Eric, I know there was a lot of talk about Hannah Abbott and the Leaky Cauldron. You were trying to sell that room really hard a couple of weeks ago as a place to live. But she was actually the landlady of the Leaky Cauldron, so she likely got the room for her and Neville, or maybe multiple rooms for them, for free, given that she was the one running the place. And she later applied to work at Hogwarts, which it was a little bit unclear as to whether or not she got the job, but it said that she did apply to work there.
Yeah, I think that's, for some reason, that's like the time period that J.K. Rowling's chosen to sort of stop writing the narrative for, where it's like, oh, J.K. Rowling says like she applied, but it stops there and is like, there's nothing further future. Like that Ginny article is the one that mentioned Neville and Hannah and where they were all currently at, where Ginny was writing from the Quidditch World Cup.
Right.
Or was it Rita Skeeter writing, but it had something to do with Ginny being like an ex-Quidditch player. Anyway, whatever it was set around this time where they're all living elsewhere.
Gotcha. So I believe she applied for something in the medical field there, so maybe something along the lines of what Madame Pomfrey was doing.
That sounds right. I think she went back to school to be a healer and then applied at Hogwarts.
Yeah, that's definitely what I remember. So one notable place, though, that we did leave out, we didn't discuss very much, places to live, would be in Little Hangleton. The Riddle House, complete with a graveyard, and I'm sure other amenities, right? Frank Bryce's old stomping grounds.
Little coach house.
Yeah, a little shack on the property.
Yeah, mansion. Well, we might as well be talking about the Gaunt Shack then as well in Little Hangleton, through a thicket of trees, the least welcoming abode you'll ever encounter. I don't know, the Riddle House, people died there, and it's a mansion and all that, and that seems
People
pretty
died
cool.
in quite a few places that we've mentioned living, though.
It's true. It's very, very true. It's a manor just like anybody else, except muggles live there and not wizards, so it's probably less cool.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well,
definitely an oversight. Definitely worth.
At least worth a mention, considering we also talked about some random places like Shell Cottage.
Yeah.
All right. Shell
Cottage was iconic, though.
Yeah.
Thanks to.
So was Little Hangleton, though. I mean, it's where Voldemort was resurrected.
I'm going to find out more about Big Hangleton, which is right next door.
Well, what's the name of the bar in Little Hangleton?
Hanged Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. But as mentioned, we also got some feedback from listeners. Kira wrote in to say, I just wanted to say hi. That's it. Next email.
There's 3 more paragraphs.
No, I know.
There's the whole My Immortal chapter in this email.
Well, she started out by saying, I just wanted to write in to say hi. So, all right. Hi.
Okay.
I haven't been a Harry Potter fan or listener for ages because I've only just discovered the Harry Potter books. Anyway, I just wanted to comment on your latest podcast. You mentioned that Snape lives in Cokeworth, and none of you seem to know where that is. That's probably accurate.
Gee, I wonder where...
It's probably true. It's actually the town where Lily, Petunia, and Snape all grew up. Petunia moved because she wanted to escape the shame of her sister. Lily moved to Godric's Hollow when she married James. Snape never left. I just thought you ought to know. So to wrap up, I just want to say I love your show, and we'll be listening on my birthday, which is coincidentally September 1st. Keep up the good work, you guys, and thank you.
Yeah, it's on the west side of England, it looks like, south of Wales.
Cool.
But
yes, Lily and Petunia and Snape were children together in that town.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Next email here. I'll take it.
Go.
I was listening to your most recent episode, 334, Back to Hogwarts. Like always, it was a very enjoyable to listen to. However, when discussing possible wizard places to live, I feel like you left out a great one, which is a suitcase, like Newt's. I don't know if you only intended to include those that were in the original series, but I feel like a magical suitcase can still be a great contender. I have some pros and cons. The pros: small size, even smaller than the tent, meaning you can take it anywhere you want. In a pinch, you could sleep anywhere you want, even a train station. No need to pay rent, mortgage, etc. Just buy the suitcase once and maintain it well. Number 3, travel is easy. Number 4, if Newt can create plenty of environments for numerous and huge magical creatures, then imagine how easy it would be to customize the inside to your liking. Cons: could be easily stolen.
Yes.
Imagine walking up to the spot where you left your home just to see that someone had walked off with everything you own. I mean, that basically happened in the movie.
It did already happen. Yeah, that's great.
Number 2, unless you're super strong or can think of the right spell, someone could possibly lock you inside your own home just by sitting on it or putting it under something heavy. Talk about house arrest.
House arrest.
Number 3, may not be suitable for off-sized wizards and witches and not wheelchair accessible. And number 4, may not be able to withstand harsh weather.
Joni,
Joni,
who sent this in, gets the spirit of what we were trying to do with the places discussion in the first place.
She should plan the discussion next time, actually. I think she did a great job.
Well thought out list of pros
And I
and
actually
cons.
cut down her email. It was much longer than what's in the Word doc right now, but yeah, I really thought through very well.
We appreciate that, Joni. Yeah, and thank you to everybody who responded. We're going to try and incorporate more listener feedback regarding our main discussions back into future episodes via these rewind or rebuttal segments in the future. So definitely keep sending that to our MuggleCast@gmail.com email address.
Please send your wedding invitations there as well, so we will actually get them. Whereas if they go to the P.O. box, Eric just holds it all hostage.
Actually,
I said
Andrew,
I'm giving you the key to the P.O. box this week. I'm going to give you a key.
No, that's right. You have access now. I was going to say you should just give them your new address so that you get them directly. You don't have to worry about Eric stashing them somewhere for months and then just surprising us after the fact.
I'll be there at opening every morning so I can beat him there.
Jake and Brittany, congratulations again. Sorry we didn't make your wedding, and it's my fault. I didn't tell the guys.
I would have went. Canceled MuggleNet Live. No, but to get back to Joni's opening point, I think we did mostly focus on the Harry Potter places. We could potentially go back and look at some Fantastic Beasts places as well.
Right.
Maybe once another movie is out. But that leads us into this week's discussion, which is a talk on the magical transportation in the Wizarding World. But first, we want to tell you about this week's sponsor, Casper Mattress. Micah, how you sleeping these days?
I'm sleeping great. I'm really loving the Casper mattress. Got it a couple months ago at this point, and have no complaints.
Yeah, they have an obsessively engineered mattress at a shockingly fair price. The product design features a marriage between foam layers for ideal firmness, just the right sink, just the right bit of bounce. It's got an affordable price because Casper sells directly to consumers. You can get free shipping and returns to the United States and Canada, and, is what I love, this is how you know they're confident about their product, 100-night free trial. No hassle returns. No hassle returns if you're not happy. They have over 20,000 reviews and an average of 4.8 stars based on Casper, Amazon, and Google reviews. It's quickly becoming the internet's favorite mattress. Mike and I both loving our mattresses. So check out casper.com/MuggleCast. You can learn more about the mattress and use promo code MuggleCast when you order to get $50 off your order. It'll come in a box that's so small for a mattress. You're going to be like, how do they do that? And you take it out and comes to life.
That's half the fun. Yeah, I think it's worth mentioning this is a great time of year. I know a lot of people that listen to this show are going off to college or just settling into their dormitories, and they may need a mattress, and Casper provides a really great product, and I think our listeners will be very happy with what they get.
Yeah, it's risk-free. You get free delivery, free returns. If you don't love it, they'll pick it up and refund you everything. So definitely worth a try if you're in the market for a new mattress. You are going to sleep great and be so cozy. Again, it's casper.com/MuggleCast. Use promo code MuggleCast. And thank you to Casper for their support of the show. So we're going to break down specific magical places, and then I want to grade them. And I thought we could use the OWLS system, the OWLS grading system. So starting with outstanding would be the highest, and then exceeds expectations, acceptable, poor, dreadful, or troll. So how do you lay this out, Eric?
Okay, so I remember last week our fabulous guest host made us give a real premise as to why we were were we looking for places as wizards? Were we students? Were we, what's going on? This week, because it's just the three of us, I'm not going to hold us to that heavy standard. We're going to announce them in the order in which Harry, as in Harry Potter, was introduced to them. So we needed an order. I figured that's as good as any. The first on that list then, though, is the Hogwarts Express, the classic Hogwarts Express. Who doesn't know of it and want to ride it? At least a Hogwarts. What is it? It's, it's basically like a Muggle train. The one in the movie is a steam-powered locomotive, and it is the transportation that takes you between London King's Cross Station and Hogsmeade Village, actually. It does not go all the way to Hogwarts. It goes to Hogsmeade Village, and then users have to, or students then have to take either boats or carriages. But
so why isn't it called the Hogsmeade Express?
Well, I think in those years, you'd have to consult J.K. Rowling, and this might be on Pottermore. Actually, it is on Pottermore. The entire history of the Hogwarts Express is on Pottermore. So I'm not even going to finish my sentence. It's on Pottermore. Go find out.
Okay, I'll go do that right now.
Yeah.
You guys keep up with the show, okay?
Well, it does sound a lot better being called the Hogwarts Express. It loses its appeal if it's called the Hogsmeade Express.
Hogwarts is the destination of the destination. It's that's where it's going to, even though. I don't know.
As someone who grew up loving trains, I was a big fan of Thomas the Tank Engine, and just trains in general. I loved the idea of the Hogwarts Express, and it's definitely one of my favorite aspects of the Wizarding World theme park, being able to ride it and actually moving between the two parks, even though that's not a real train. But they do a great job of faking it. They do have the real Hogwarts Express at the Harry Potter Studio Tour as well. That was a recent addition, which was very cool. You can even go on it, which was a lot of fun to do. It really felt just like the one at Universal. So they did a really good job of cloning the original. But I do love this. I would rank it high on my list. Though you point out in the cons here that it is limited travel options. This doesn't get you anywhere you want. You're kind of stuck between King's Cross, Hogwarts, Hogsmeade.
Right. So the Harry Potter series was conceived on a train while J.K. Rowling was riding a train. I forget the to and fro of where she was going, but there is something magical about it for that reason as well. This is why Harry takes it to get to Hogwarts. It's a train because J.K. Rowling herself discovered the magical world while on a train. It's the same thing. It's beautiful, but allegedly, it only goes a couple of locations wherever the train tracks are already, and that's because it is basically a Muggle means of transportation that is simply been suited to fit wizards. It's not even that secure. If we're thinking about it, it can be found when it's in transit. Harry and Ron find it in the car, and Dementors find it in the beginning of Prisoner of Azkaban. So here are the pros and cons. Pros are it's eclectic, it's beautiful, it's peaceful, and lots of friends with you. Usually riding in this train is a signifier of great things to come, whether it's school, Christmas break, or summer vacation. But here's the cons. Limited travel options, only seems to travel between Hogsmeade and London. Although, mentioning that, other magical trains similar to the Hogwarts Express may be also found on other platforms at King's Cross Station. I believe J.K. Rowling mentioned that. So maybe if we are these travelers who are trying to pick a means of magical transit, we would pick another train instead of the Hogwarts Express. But Hogwarts Express is our way of weighing.
You could take the train as a normal person. What's special about that?
Well, I don't know. They all don't have trolley ladies on them. Magical.
Yeah. Well, also to get to the train at King's Cross, you got to go through the wall.
Yeah, it's fun.
I do wonder how secure it is though when it's out in the wild.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Dementors.
Is trolley lady also like head of security on the train?
I don't know.
Well, it depends. Are we talking Cursed Child? Or are we talking?
It's canon.
It's
so
canon.
Yes.
Does she have a sheriff's badge
She
somewhere?
Might.
Yeah.
Well, I did.
Well, I'm just thinking it must be secure if Dumbledore was cool with Harry riding it all those years.
Well, it's totally not secure though. The Dementors attack it. The Death Eaters stop it.
That's true. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, I did look up some information on Pottermore, Eric, per your recommendation.
Oh, that's where
you actually did. Cool. That was fast.
So apparently there were other means that were tried out by wizards and witches early on to get to Hogwarts, including just flying there and using Portkeys, but eventually that got to be too much of a problem for various reasons, and it said a daring and controversial solution to the thorny problem was finally suggested by Minister for Magic Adeline Gamble, who was much intrigued by Muggle inventions and saw the potential in trains. Where exactly the Hogwarts Express came from has never been conclusively proven, although it is a fact that there are secret records at the Ministry of Magic detailing a massive operation involving 167 memory charms and the largest ever mass concealment charm performed in Britain.
They stole it from the Muggles. I love it.
And then to your point about it being a Muggle form of transportation, actually early on, this was a major issue for pureblood families who didn't want their children riding Muggle transportation, to which the ministry responded by saying that students either rode the train or did not attend the school.
That was whatever headmaster that was like a real firecracker, like Dumbledore. You know, that's something that Dumbledore would say. Hopefully they weren't also assassinated. But But yeah, so the Hogwarts Express, what do we think as far as mode of transportation? How do we feel about using Muggle, using dirty...
I would give it an exceeds expectations, but not an outstanding due to its limited travel options. And the jury is still out on whether or not the trolley lady is a pro or a con. Because on the one hand, she does give out sweets. On the other hand, she'll turn into a psycho with really long nails. Really, 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 really long nails should you try to escape. And I don't know. I kind of just want the freedom to be able to jump off the train whenever I want.
Yeah, that's true. And honestly, that's a benefit that we'll be weighing in some of these other travel options. So I think that's fair. I think exceeds expectations is accurate. Although I would say it would probably normally be an acceptable for me if it were not for the nostalgia factor of, going to school every year on this thing. But I'm going to probably also place it in the lower end of exceeds expectations.
How about you, Micah?
I probably will just give it an acceptable because it's a limited mode of transportation and
yeah.
You're only going to and from one place really at the end of the day, right? So if you're a student, then I'm sure there's a lot of more allure than... I think it depends. Like when we talked about this, when we were talking about places to live, I think it depends where you are in your life. If you're a student, then yeah. If you're older, then you probably don't have any reason to take it unless you're teaching at the school or you're visiting the school.
Does it? Yeah, okay. I wonder how... I was just going to ask how often it runs, but I guess if you're just visiting the school, maybe it does run daily. I would buy a season pass.
Yeah. A park hopper pass to the... I think that it is summoned sometimes from Hogwarts whenever they need to take students home early, like when the school's about to close or anytime they go on break. The Hogwarts Express has to be summoned from London. Like they get it. And that's the other part is it's very logistic heavy. They can't just create a portkey using Portis. They have to, probably send an owl to the conductor and schedule, a ride. It has to physically get from London to Hogsmeade to be able to, take students from Hogsmeade. So,
Let's
bunch
keep
more
moving.
logistics. Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's move on. This next mode of transit might be my favorite. It's the second one that Harry encounters, and that's broomsticks. So here's the little ad that I wrote up for broomstick travel. Do you want to have infinite control over where you're traveling? Head to the cupboard and grab your broomstick. Whether it's a Clean Sweep 7 or a Nimbus 2001 or even a Firebolt. The sky is barely the limit on your magical broom. So brooms have the unique distinction of being iconic wizard wear. Broomsticks and witches and wizards go back as far as you can think. And they also happen to be very flexible in terms of where you can go to on them.
But you do have to master them.
You do.
Flying them.
Yes.
Up. So the pros, direct control over your destination. You can avoid weather patterns that look nasty, for example. Always follow the shade of the sun, travel with birds, go on joyrides. If you're cold, there are spells which will warm you up and make sure the ride is pleasant. And then the cons, you're going to need to bring a backpack or something because there's not much storage space.
Right.
Mad-Eye Moody or Hagrid are shown using either alternative means or multiple brooms tied together to get cargo carried. I also think, Eric wrote this, I think maybe you're trying to imply there might be a weight limit if you're singling out Mad-Eye or Hagrid.
Am I wrong? Aren't there like multiple brooms tied together at one point to carry like a trunk? Doesn't Mad-Eye Moody use that at one point?
I don't know. I can't remember.
I was pretty sure of it. Apologies if that's completely incorrect, but there isn't much storage space. There's not even a glove compartment on these things, so I'm imagining.
And I need to like listen to my iPod or something. And with this is why I would never buy a motorcycle because I like to listen to my music as clear as possible while driving. And
you could use AirPods.
Yeah, but still, the all the wind around you would
knock them out. Probably.
Yeah.
You could put a spell on so they don't fall.
That's exactly why. Yeah, like if we were having this issue with our last discussion about places, because when we talked about how much space they have on the inside, like the room with the leaky cauldron being maybe small, the issue is that as wizards you can always extend them magically. So even a tent is a beautiful home. But with that, same with broomsticks here, like you can warm yourself up. The first thing I thought of as a con was, oh my god, it's freezing cold when you're at like 10,000 feet in the air. But there are spells to warm you, just like there are spells for anything. And so I think, a lot of the cons can be mitigated by your intelligence and versatility as far as casting spells to keep yourself warm and all of that. But I like it. Ultimately, again, having complete control over your destination, and the avoiding weather patterns thing that I wrote was very big, because you remember how many times they're on the Hogwarts Express and it's raining and it's like an ugly day and they're just caught in it because that's where the tracks are, like for the train to go on. So with the broomstick, you can avoid all that.
Really?
As a kid,
but you're the train. You're inside. You're not getting thunderstormed on. If you're riding a broom, you're getting.
Well, there's umbrella spells.
I'm just gonna give it an acceptable. I think it's an old school means of transportation, and there's plenty new age stuff that we're gonna talk about after this. So,
okay, I would definitely love to fly around on a broom. I wouldn't probably go very high, but like be cool to go across a lake or something. As a child, I think in 3rd grade, I made my own Thunderbolt, Firebolt. I think for class, it was like an art project, and I spray painted it gold and stuff, and I adored it. I didn't fly around on it, and then of course we've spoken about the vibrating broomstick. Don't have that yet, but maybe one day. So
it could be at the P.O. box, Andrew. You never know.
Yeah, I guess
I'm
go
keeping
check
that
tomorrow.
to myself. You guys are not getting it.
Yeah, it could have been there months ago. Eric's just not telling us.
Jesus.
I'm going to give this exceeds expectations. That's one below outstanding. I don't know if I'm going to be able to award anything outstanding. We'll see.
Yeah. Wow. I'm going to also give it exceeds expectations. It looks like just an ordinary broomstick, but what you can do with it is fairly exceptional. So there we go. Okay. Next method, Floo powder, everybody. Floo powder. This means of transportation is nearly instantaneous. So now we've really upped our games, because with a broomstick, you're still looking at a couple hours in flight, depending on where you're going. But with Floo powder, it's instantaneous. Simply step into your fireplace, throw down the powder, and declare where it is you would like to go. You will be transported via the carefully, secure, and safely guarded Floo powder network to any approved destination you can imagine. So, Floo powder is great because anyone can do it. It is acceptable, or kids are welcome. 12-year-old Harry kind of chokes up a little bit and gets into some trouble, but mostly it's fun and transportation for the whole family. So again, the pros: fast travel times. It presumably only costs you the cost of the powder. And it's safer than alternatives such as Apparition or Side-Along Apparition, which we've seen time and time again. People get splinched.
Is it safe, though? I mean, Harry so easily accidentally threw off where he was supposed to go by not pronouncing. So, I mean, it is safe, but it's not. You have to be very careful. Extremely careful.
I think that Harry's... I don't like... The only experience we have of using Floo powder directly is Harry screwing up and messing it up. Shouldn't necessarily be an indicator of how easy or not easy it is for normal people to do it, because that's moving the plot along. Like, he had to go to Borgin and Burke's to see what the Weasleys were, or the Lucius Malfoy was up to. But, like, I think on the whole, like, the way I imagine it is, remember, there's a Floo network, and you have to, there's an entire department at the ministry, if I'm remembering correctly, where it's the Floo network, like, registry, and there's people who monitor the Floo network. We're always hearing about fireplaces being shut off or newly connected to the Floo network. And so it's an organization. It's basically like if you're monitoring chat rooms, or something, and you're or a switchboard of telephones, and you're connecting these new lines to get to new places, there's a human connection. There's a human moderator. And so I think it's actually quite safe as a result of that. Like, somebody should have been at the other end, like a switchboard operator, that when Harry stepped into the fireplace and said, Diagon Alley or choked, somebody should have actually asked him, excuse me, did you mean this place or that place? Like, there should have been a little bit more of a 1-2. But
like
I guess
Siri.
Like Siri, basically, taking you through. That's
I did
my
not understand, child.
Interpretation. Yeah.
Is that your final answer?
Right, of how it works. Because the movies do it a disservice. It's not, because in the movies he's like, diagonally, it's like, oh, okay, that's just a direction. But
I don't think that was a disservice. I thought that was a good scene.
Well, yeah, but if he just gone
I think part of it's actually a deleted scene, isn't it?
Oh gosh, is it?
I think the scene, what do they call it? The Hand of Glory.
Oh yeah, well once he gets to Borgin and Burke's, there's more to that scene.
So I actually did some research on Pottermore, Eric, per your suggestion, or maybe not per your suggestion for this one.
I love you right now.
So the only licensed producer of Floo powder in Britain is Floo Pow, which is a company whose headquarters is in Diagon Alley and who never answer their front door.
Huh.
Which would make sense.
But I bet you could get to them via their fireplace.
I think that's the implication there. But apparently the cost of Floo powder has remained the same for 100 years. It's two sickles a scoop. So it's not very expensive, though. Apparently,
how big's a scoop?
I don't think a scoop of ice cream. I don't know. People have tried to create their own. And it was said that there is this irate healer in St. Mungo's, Rutherford Polk, who in 2010 said, "It's 2 sickles a scoop, people, so stop being cheap, stop throwing powdered rune spore fangs on the fire, and stop blowing yourselves out of the chimney. If one more wizard comes in here with a burned backside, I swear I won't treat him. It's 2 sickles a scoop."
Also,
sorry.
That's very
amazing.
affordable when you think about just how far you can go with it for such a low price.
Yeah, that's
the name of this episode, by the way. 2 sickles a scoop.
2 sickles a scoop. I love that, really, because it shows that there's good entrepreneurs out there who want to keep. It's like dollar sandwich day at Jimmy John's. Like, it's just like, we have this great product, we're not going to overcharge for it. They're basically charging cost. Like, they're charging you at cost of what it costs to make it. And it's a proprietary formula. It's like the formula for Coca-Cola. Nobody can duplicate it. So, getting to the cons, however, there is something a little suspicious about it. J.K. Rowling basically uses, I think, the Floo network in the Harry Potter books as a commentary on privacy, right? Invasion of privacy, because Umbridge, in particular, in Book 5, is using the Floo network. She's the only one who has a grate that is approved, and there seems to be some sort of ministry control over the approved spaces that you can go to. And so it's sort of like the government, especially in America too, like the NSA monitoring phone calls. Surely the fact that there's this network means that you're giving some privacy up when using that network to travel. It's the same as the internet too, and the phone calls we make. Like, there are records of that on paper. And so traveling by the Floo network, though it's super easy, potentially lets the government know what you're up to. And so it's not ideal for all, destinations necessarily that you would want to go, depending on certain circumstances. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So if you take your broom, you can go anywhere at any time in the dead of night. No one will know. If you use the Floo network, there's probably a paper trail.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, I'll give this one an outstanding. I'm going to put aside the potential mistakes you can make. It's cheap. It's reliable. There is a paper trail, but that's okay.
Man, a second ago you were like, I don't know if I can give anything an outstanding. It's the Floo powder. Okay,
I'm reflecting on it more.
Yeah.
I'll go with his exceeds expectations.
Oh, okay.
Exceeds. Ooh.
A little nice review. How about you?
I'm giving it an acceptable. It is a little dusty, a little dirty too. I know, climbing into a chimney.
Outstanding. I just can't go there because I think there are too many security issues with it.
I mean, if you think about
what are you running away from, Micah? Why are you hiding? Or why are you concerned about that?
I'm just saying, would you want random people showing up in your fireplace?
That's true. Can you imagine what telemarketing would be like in the Wizarding world? You probably have to board it up like the Dursleys do with the Weasleys. It's fair. To be fair, we have seen it go wrong more than we've seen it go right. I just remembered about the Weasleys and the Dursleys. But obviously they weren't prepared for it. You'd hate to go somewhere and find that it had been boarded up. That would be very uncomfortable. But really, honestly, the thing is, the reason I give it an acceptable is there's just not enough chimneys that are set up, hooked up to the network. It's like there's no... the infinite possibilities that you have on a broomstick are drastically limited by whatever happens to be officially set up on this... It's like going on the internet, but only being able to go to government websites, .gov instead of all.
It's limited, but also I think there's got to be a way to prevent people from coming into your fireplace whenever you want. That would bring up huge security issues.
Like accept or like
maybe you're like on an approved list, like the new Amazon show. There's this creepy feature. It's like the updated Echo show, I think it's called. You can drop in on somebody else's house via video whenever you want. And you can have like an approved list of people who can drop in. Now, this feature is creepy as hell.
Yeah.
But maybe if you're doing it with like a grandparent or
probably already happening anyway, though, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well, people do it for their own cats and their own dogs and stuff to view it, like a pet cam type stuff.
Yeah. Or their kids.
or their children. I don't know. Are children usually left alone, like completely alone?
But if they go to daycare or nursery school.
Oh, yeah.
Let's keep moving.
Yeah. All right, yeah.
Yeah, okay, keep moving.
Topic.
Okay. The next one is sort of a one-off, but it's important to mention because it is big to Harry. The flying car. Here's the intro. Looking to escape the dreaded Dursleys who are ruining your summer vacay? Look no further than this light blue dream. Here to take you away to friends and family. Cool things about the flying car. It's bigger on the inside and it flies. But the cons are it's a breach of the statute of secrecy. There's probably 100 laws against it existing. It's not street legal, and it's also not fully invisible. Although it succeeds as a means for transportation when you're getting somewhere and looks pretty cool. Hey, we're flying in a car right now. It's not really thought out or altogether very safe. And unfortunately, as another con, I believe it's gained sentience since the last time we saw it. So it has a mind of its own and may not agree with you. And it gets tired as well and is moody. So
it gets from point A to point B, but it is pretty run down. We see it sputtering and struggling a lot. Also worth noting that this is one wizard technology that actually maybe could be in the Muggle world one day. Flying cars, we always saw it on the Jetsons growing up, and there's always been these dreams of flying cars. Now it looks like self-driving cars will probably be the thing over flying cars, but who knows? Maybe one day we will be in flying cars. This just has way too many problems: security, unreliability, breaking laws. Yep,
legality.
Troll. I'm giving it a troll, the lowest owl grade.
I'd love to. I'd love to see what a poor and dreadful looks like. I'm gonna give it a acceptable. I think if you use it smart and use it sparingly and only in the countryside, you can make it work. It's cute, but mostly out of my love for Arthur Weasley.
Yeah, I was gonna say for my guy Arthur Weasley, that would be the only thing that saves it from a troll. So I'll just go at poor. Leave it there.
Poor. Okay. Is that because of Arthur Weasley?
Yeah, 100%.
Just like Arthur. Poor.
That was a Weasley's poor joke. That was what it was.
Oh, is it? That was not my intent, but
no. I think we all understand.
Harsh, man.
Yeah.
Next up is the Portkey, seen in many books. We also just mentioned it while talking about the Hogwarts Express because people used to take Portkeys over into Hogwarts. How do you sell this, Eric?
So there seems to be a great deal of distance that you can accomplish. So here's the ad. Do you have an appointment on the other side of the world? Fear not, just arrange a Portkey to assist you on your journey. This is what we know about Portkeys, and this is mostly in Goblet of Fire, that they're able to travel great distances and even sort of your random off distances. So unlike the Floo network, which you need a chimney, you need to hook it up to the network, and there's probably a lot of paperwork. Portkeys seem to have a little bit more flexibility. It's the method of transit that the Weasleys choose to get to the Quidditch World Cup, which is in a very random location, just, and basically in a field somewhere next to the hill where the field is where they actually have to have the cup. Anyway, infinitely customizable destinations over great distances. And again, unlike Broomsticks, it's and trains, it's instantaneous. So there are some pros here. Ultimately,
mass travel.
However, what's that?
I don't know, you may have touched on it, but I was saying it's an opportunity for multiple people to travel as well.
Yeah, that's and definitely when we get into Apparition, that becomes a huge sticking point, which is large groups. So the Portkeys, and I think there's use of a Portkey in Cursed Child too, isn't there?
I think so.
A couple of people grab onto it, I think, at one point. It might be towards the end in Godric's Hollow or something. But yeah, multiple groups. So it's a good point, Micah. Big groups of people can travel to the same destination quickly. So that's the pro. Here's the con, though. And this can really be a con for almost every means of transport that Harry himself experiences. He always describes the sensation as being uncomfortable. Part of it is, I think, J.K. Rowling describing something that is not a natural state or natural phenomenon. But Portkeys, using a Portkey, feels like you're being pulled at the navel, at the belly button, in a direction, like an arbitrary just woof out your direction, wind knocked out of you, really kind of not a comfortable means of transit. You're accelerating. It's not the same as just simply popping out and popping in somewhere. Although neither is Apparition.
And we see it in the movie how painful it is, don't we? And I think it's described in the book as well. So
yeah, I mean, Fred and George love it, but Fred and George would.
It's going to get a lower grade from me due to the pain of it. But I do love the idea of like these unassuming objects, in the case of getting to the Triwizard Tournament, kind of just like sitting on a field. And you can transfer to them like a boot or a hat.
Yeah.
It is very cool wizard technology. I would give it. I'm giving it an acceptable, because I do like that you can get anywhere fast, and I mean you can set up an impressive Portkey network, so you could get wherever you wanted.
It's weird because we see the spell to do it is just Portus, but there's also some kind of time window in which that you have to use it. So it's, as a con, it's also possibly that if you're running late, you miss your Portkey. So there is sort of that issue built into it. Due to the physical disorientation, I'm going to rate it probably at an acceptable as well.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And then there's also, you mentioned the fact that these are random objects, but they can also be taken for a piece of unimportant debris by Muggle passerbys. And Eric, per your recommendation, I looked up on Pottermore this
now
write-up.
You're just trolling me.
This write-up on Portkeys, and there's actually a really funny incident that's described here. It says, accidents have occurred. Two Muggle dog walkers found themselves accidentally transported to a Celestina Warbeck concert in 2003 because their dogs had run off with an old trainer on Clapham Common, leaving an anguished crowd of witches and wizards to look frantically for their Portkey on a stretch of empty grass, hopefully seizing old crisp packets and cigarette ends. One of the Muggle dog walkers was even invited on stage by Celestina to perform a duet of A Cauldron Full of Hot, Strong Love.
That guy just had like the best night of his life. Too bad they're going to have to
apparently
memory him.
He did go on to write a Muggle song that was very similar to Celestina's big hit, and that really pissed her off. So
great.
These are the problems that one has when using Portkeys. So I will grade it an acceptable as well.
Okay.
Next up, Apparition.
Apparition. Okay, here we go. Need to be somewhere in a hurry? Just apparate. Take your transportation into your own highly capable hands. Just gather the 3 Ds and be on your merry way. Here are the pros. It's instantaneous. You can travel anywhere, although it is understood that shorter distances are easier. Newt Scamander, for instance, takes a boat to cross the Atlantic because apparating over long distances, as J.K. Rowling says, is actually really tough. And further cons are that it is uncomfortable. Again, there's the U word from Harry. He describes it as being squeezed infinitely, like super small. And even when side-along apparating, which is Dumbledore takes the reins, it's just not a good feeling. It's just, ugh.
Yeah.
You're
in
squeezing
the books,
yourself.
Harry describes it as being forced through a very tight rubber tube.
Yeah.
Oof.
If you do it every day, like many ministry, government officials, and a bunch of others do, just apparate to work, I'm sure you get used to the feeling. And again, being a 16-year-old, maybe it's just new and unusual, and so it gets a bad rap. But if you can get over the discomfort, it seems to be a pretty decent way of getting somewhere because it's instantaneous. But then there's also the idea that if you are not gathering all of the 3 Ds, destination, deliberation, determination, if you slip up or haven't had your morning coffee, you can drastically injure yourself. Splinching, which we've seen in the books time and again, is real and appears to be very, 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 very painful. And
there are limits to apparition.
Yeah.
So there is, you can go far, but the further you go, the more difficult it gets. So there's that as well.
Yeah.
I do think, assuming that I would master apparition, I'm going to give it an outstanding, just because it doesn't require anything extra. You don't need to have a Portkey in place. You don't need to have Floo powder in your pocket. You can just go anywhere, anytime. So assuming I'm good at it, outstanding.
That's fair. Huh.
Exceeds.
So you've rated... Yeah, exceeds?
Mm-hmm. That would be my rating for it, yeah.
I'm going to give it acceptable. I find the distance to be limiting, to be honest. Because again, loving travel as I do, I would often... if I can travel, I'd go to other countries across continents, and I simply couldn't accomplish that through apparating alone, so I would have to resort to Floo powder or broomsticks or some other magical means. So it only gets acceptable.
That's fair.
And so let's get to just the other... Oh, where did my honorable mentions go? Are they gone?
At the bottom.
Oh, okay. Here are some honorable mentions. Let's just really quick, we'll go through what they are and how they're cool. Although, actually, I guess I have one more thing here, which is on the back of a magical beast. So here's a transportation we do see Harry use a couple of times. You can ride dragons, hippogriffs, or thestrals to get places. Do we have any particular feelings on this? Obviously, we're friendly with the beast. We've bowed to the hippogriff. He has consented to let us on, as have the thestrals. In the case of the dragon, maybe if you're Charlie Weasley, he can ride them. Do we have an opinion on whether this is a good or poor means of transit?
I think it's acceptable.
Well, I assume Game of Thrones fans would love the idea of riding a dragon.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem as pleasant in Harry Potter because it seems to be only used for, escaping out of Gringotts, or I think
Getting
that was
to the
really
ministry.
the only main one. Yeah, getting to the ministry. Yeah. So, but I think it would be cool as hell to ride a beast. Yeah. So long as it wasn't going to kill me. It'd be scary, but I think you get the same thrill as you would like jumping out of a plane.
Yeah.
Parachuting.
That's a really good point, actually.
It'd be fun to try once, I think, and then maybe not again.
Yeah. So, okay, so before we do the honorable mentions, let's just pick now that we've gone through them, again, the options were Hogwarts Express, Broomstick, Floo powder, Flying car, Portkey, and Apparition, and the back of a magical beast. What do we think we would choose for our one, preferred means of transit?
Oh, man. I think the
Apparition.
broomstick.
Apparition, Micah?
Yep.
Broomstick, Andrew? I'm definitely also a broomstick. I think really you can't who can beat it? It's classic and you can go as far as you like. I presuming you can bring provisions for the week it'll take you to cross the Atlantic. You could absolutely do that as well. So
Plus, you can clean with it, and I love cleaning, so multifunctional.
There you go.
Oh my gosh. So broomsticks win.
Multi-purpose.
Yay.
I would have to have a seat on it, though.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. There are definitely like built-in seats that you can modify your broomstick. I think that's what we've seen Mad-Eye do too. But okay, here are the honorable mentions. So occasionally there are these souped-up other modes of transit, including the Durmstrang ship, which travels, I think, under the earth, basically, or maybe the lakes do have to be connected. But I got the distinct impression that maybe that ship can apparate or travel through some sort of underwater portal system. Durmstrang ship. The Bobaton's carriage, again, flying beasts and the giant horses that carry the entire school of champions to Hogwarts is real exciting and beautiful and majestic and certainly unique to that school. Then there is the night bus, which maybe we should have given more of a fair shake, but like anything, it's characterized by being uncomfortable because Harry rides in it.
Well,
and
it
movie
stops
also,
more places than the Hogwarts Express does, to be fair.
It does, doesn't it? You can presumably get anywhere because it will move aside buildings and mailboxes and passersby to get there. So it is very flexible. It might be like a middle option for people traveling around maybe just that country. Although I think there's also an article on Pottermore about the night bus that say you can go to the bottom of the lake. Oh, man. Okay, I think we probably should have given it a fair shake. That's on me. But while Micah finds the night bus stuff, there's also Sirius's motorbike, which is really cool. Obviously, we love it. It's from Sirius. We see it in Chapter 1 of Book 1. But like the flying car, it's probably not legal. It's certainly not invisible. And it has its own limits, much like a broomstick or the flying car. So there's that. And I think other than that, the boats that take you from the Hogsmeade to Hogwarts if you're a first year.
Don't count.
Those don't count. Okay, it was an honorable mention, so dishonorable
what's
mention.
What's this one? This last one?
Flying carpet. So this a big deal, actually. No. It's totally Harry Potter. In Book 4, during the Quidditch World Cup, we are privy to a conversation that Arthur Weasley has with one of his fellow government officials, and they are complaining that this gentleman is trying to smuggle flying carpets in. Ali Bashir is on the warpath. He wants a word with you about your embargo on flying carpets. Basically, Mr. Weasley's impression is that flying carpets will never catch on in England. People prefer broomsticks, but apparently they're very big in Asia and India. So that's what people use as an alternative to broomsticks. And the theory, I think, is that you can take your whole family. It seats
on a magic carpet ride, a whole new Hogwarts.
Ludo Bagman says, well, they'll never replace brooms in Britain, will they? Ali thinks there's a niche in the market for a family vehicle. I remember my grandfather had an Axminster that could seat 12, but that was before carpets were banned.
So, just to go back to the night bus very quickly.
Yep.
There was a need for some form of transportation that could be used safely and discreetly by the underage or the infirm. And Minister for Magic Dugald MacPhail hit upon the idea of imitating the Muggles' relatively new bus service. And in 1865, the night bus hit the streets.
Yeah, literally hit the streets. I imagine a big bang. Again, very uncomfortable. But I think that is pretty cool.
All right. Well, I think that wraps up our discussion on magical transportation.
It was fun.
Send in some emails if you got any reactions or call our voicemail line. The wizarding, the various forms of magical transportation are definitely very fascinating. Just like with every other element in the Harry Potter series, J.K. Rowling did a really great job dreaming up lots of different methods. Although I do prefer the broomstick, the Hogwarts Express will always have my heart. That's always something when I look at merchandise in the Wizarding World parks. I look at the Hogwarts Express stuff because I just love trains.
Aw.
All right, we have a couple of voicemails to play before we wrap up today's episode. I'm just going to take the 3 most recent ones. They were all solid. Here we go.
Hi, MuggleCast. My name is Paige. I'm from Long Island, New York. I just wanted to thank you guys. I'm from New York, but I go to school in Philly, and your podcasts have really helped me through several scenic drives through New Jersey to get to Philadelphia. I just wanted to share one of my favorite MuggleCast memories. It was back in either, I think, 2013 or 2014 when you guys were announcing that you weren't ending the show, but you were going to have fewer episodes in the upcoming years. And then I think like a day or two later, Fantastic Beasts was announced that they were making movies. So you guys are back. Again, thanks so much, and keep doing what you're doing. It's great. All right, bye, guys.
Thank you. And yeah, that was funny when we were like, we're over, guys. Peace out. And then 3 days later, Warner Brothers announces Harry Potter spin-off series with J.K. Rowling writing the whole thing. It's 3 films. J.K., it's 5 films. Thank you. And I'm glad we're keeping you busy on your scenic New Jersey drives. I didn't know you could use the word scenic and New Jersey in the same sentence, but
you learn something new about your home state every day.
I grew up there. I'm allowed to insult New Jersey.
Yeah.
All right. Here's our next one. This is a follow-up voicemail.
How about it, fellas? Don't know if y'all really care much, but looks like I won't be taking a honeymoon down to Universal because looks like they're going to be having some Death Eater and Giant activity.
Oh, yeah.
The park might be messed up. Hopefully everybody that is going to be down there will be all right, and hopefully it won't get them too bad. But you fellas have a good one. Y'all stay safe up there.
Yes. So this is the guy who called in a couple weeks ago saying he was going down there for his honeymoon, and he was missing us by a week, and now he's not going because the Death Eaters are going to screw up Orlando.
Was that Southern Hagrid?
That's smart though, because I gotta say, like yesterday, people were messing. I saw on Facebook like 20-minute wait times on Peter Pan in the Disney park, and like I'm down in Florida, and I'm like, well, yeah, I guess you can get onto all the rides really easily because nobody's down there. But the reason nobody's down there is because it's being evacuated, and there's a giant storm coming. Look, I just want people to be safe during this time, be smart about it. I feel very bad for the park employees who are having to work in it. That's just
not working. The parks
politics.
are closed.
Yeah, well, so anyway, just I hope everybody's very safe and is not putting themselves at undue risk like this gentleman caller.
Yeah, well, that was smart to not go, and I hope the dragon's okay. You know, he's high up in the air. At Diagon Alley.
Yeah.
I hope he's all right. Is he going to keep breathing fire through the hurricane, I wonder?
I don't know. If they, I really don't know.
And speaking of the theme park, here's one more.
Hey, MuggleCast. Jason here from Orlando. Love you guys. I'm actually about to walk into work at Diagon Alley. So I just, was listening to you guys on the way into work and wanted to call and ask you a question. HBO has greenlit a Game of Thrones-esque Harry Potter.
This is a hypothetical, by the way.
Show. What do you guys want it to be about? I'd love to hear your thoughts and ideas. I love you guys. Have a great time talking this out, and I can't wait to hear this and more topics on the podcast. Have a great day, guys. Bye.
So I hope you're okay, Jason, as well. Not working today. This is a voicemail from a week ago.
Oh, thank God.
But I defer to you guys because you two watch Game of Thrones. You're big fans, also big Harry Potter fans. Would you like to see HBO do a Game of Thrones style Harry Potter series? What would you like that to be? Like a different aspect of the Wizarding World, or maybe a sort of reboot of the Harry Potter stories? You know, a reboot adaptation.
Micah, what do you think?
Well, you could definitely end up doing Cursed Child. I mean, that probably falls within the Game of Thrones universe in terms of content. But
What? Why do you say that?
Just some of the things that take place in Cursed Child, I think, maybe would fall in line with Game of Thrones. But
there is a big difference. I just
don't. It's a good question. I just don't want to see like a spin-off. I don't want to see like, you know, Harry Potter go rogue and, you know, I don't know, because when you think of Game of Thrones, you think of
NSFW,
right? Yeah, you think of sex and violence, and you know, there's definitely a fantasy element to it, unlike anything. I mean, maybe that's more so the question, and you know, because if you watch Game of Thrones, it's really produced as if it's, you know, a full length film in terms of the budget that goes into it and the production value. So I mean, I'm sure there are things, given the fact that the Potter movies started all the way back in 2001, that you know, could be enhanced and could feel a lot different. But I don't know. I wouldn't want something. I don't think you need to cross over. I don't think you need to make something. I don't think you need to make Potter something it's not.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the question, because if you take out all the not safe for work stuff, you have a fantasy story they're great books. The Game of Thrones books, or, you know, Song of Ice and Fire books are great books. And if I think in terms of like HBO greenlighting a series that is just going to treat it real, like is going to treat it as if it's real, which is ultimately what they're doing with Game of Thrones, is, you know, whatever's written is being treated as though it really happened. And so for a Harry Potter series, if they make one, I just want it to be, you know, slow building, like the first seasons of Game of Thrones are, and basically having like all of the elements, all of the plot details that they get right, because they have 10 hours, you know, per season instead of 2 per book, to really get right on screen. I would watch a 7-season story of, you know, with actors that grow and age much like the Stark children have grown and aged on Game of Thrones, set at Hogwarts. But I would want them to be very much the most authentically accurate adaptations that you could muster. Maybe, in fact, for that reason, season 5 is twice as long, because the book sure as hell is twice as. I mean, really,
I think that's fair. I do. Yeah. I think looking at it from that perspective, if you were going to really slow build the series from, you know, what would be season 1 in Sorcerer's Stone, and you have 10 hours to do that, as opposed to, like you said, the 2 that they used for the movie. I could see that, because there's a lot of material there that obviously wasn't covered, because there's only so much that you can do, you know, in 120 minutes. It's not a lot of ground that you're able to cover. You're able to tell the main story, but there's obviously little things that, you know, you could see manifesting themselves and playing out over the course of multiple seasons, like they do in the actual books. The one thing I will say, though, is I feel like season 7 in particular of Game of Thrones, it's all over the place in terms of timing, and it moves very quickly. And I think, you know, they're just in a position where they're looking to put a bow around this and wrap it up, and they're not really taking advantage of the full story, and that may be because the full story hasn't been finished by the author. But you know, I would hate to get to either Half-Blood Prince or Deathly Hallows and feel like, okay, we need to get to the end. You know, we just need to get there because of any number of reasons, and I feel like that is what's happening with Game of Thrones.
That's a good point.
I was also just kind of picturing, like, if HBO were to take it on, just do something grittier. then the movies were maybe more geared to adults, so there is a little more romance, which, okay, maybe that's not completely canon, but just maybe focusing on that aspect a little more, and how Voldemort and his, the trouble that he's causing is affecting people on a personal level. I'm just picturing something overall much grittier, I guess, especially with the earlier books, because those movies were lighter, more whimsical.
I would argue that I'd love to see a series stay lighter longer.
Really?
Book, yeah, because I think this is not going to be my rant about Prisoner of Azkaban, the movie, which I have given often. But I think that maybe the Harry Potter films did get too dark too soon, because I still find book 3 to be very much a love fest, very much like a Columbus-y, Harry discovers his family. Harry discovers his past and his history, that he is loved, that his parents have best friends from childhood, that have his interests at heart, and the very best teacher as well of it all, Lupin. And the movie, I think, does miss a crucial point in finding that love in favor of showcasing the more odds and ends. Isn't this world weird? Isn't the night bus awkward? Isn't Tom the bartender a goon? Kind of weird stuff. And I just don't think the love is there. So I would at least like the first 3 seasons to be very much packing the emotional weight, so that the back half of the series can really relish in the darkness and the terror of Voldemort. I would want it to stay longer for at least, I would want it to stay lighter for at least book 3, because book 3 is, and again, in my mind, being done a disservice to in the movie, and there's a lot of really heartfelt stuff that should be addressed in that book.
And then, of course, yeah, the biggest benefit of moving it to television is you have more time to tell a story.
That's the whole thing. I mean, there's light and darkness. I mean, book 2 is essentially a horror book. There's this crazy monster killing everybody. I think, given the long format of a TV series and done properly with a good budget by people who care, as if it were like Game of Thrones on HBO, you'd be able to really strike that balance between the dark and the light, and between the emotion and the terror, and it would just be done better when given more time.
All right, well, we will wrap up today's episode there. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this week's episode. A couple of reminders. We would love your support over on patreon.com/MuggleCast. You'll get lots of benefits once pledging. You'll get bonus videos. We posted something from Orlando. Just posted that the other day. We have bonus MuggleCast installments. We've got signed album art for you. Lots more over at patreon.com/MuggleCast. And your support keeps the show going. Our P.O. Box is MuggleCast 4044 North Lincoln Avenue, Box 144, Chicago, IL 60618. Yep. You can call into our voicemail line. It's in America, 1-920-3-MUGGLE. That's 1-920-368-4453. We have many more voicemails to catch up on. We will get to those in the weeks ahead. And, of course, our email is mugglecast@gmail.com. I think that does it for this week's episode. I'm Andrew.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Micah.
We'll see you next time. Peace.
Peace.